Okay. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County and the City Club of Central Oregon, welcome to the Candidate Forum for Deschutes County Library Board Zone 1 and 4. It is quite appropriate to have them as our guests this evening, as it is National Library Week. Our candidate forums are conducted according to league guidelines. All of the candidates who are participating were invited to our forum this evening. And we also want to thank, let's start over. Our candidate forums are conducted according to league guidelines, and all candidates who have filed for this race were invited to participate. We thank the candidates who are participating this evening and appreciate the gravity of committing to run for office. Our moderator this evening is Kim Scott, Voter Education Chair of the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County. Kim, would you like to take it away?
I would. Thank you very much, Carol. Again, I'm Kim Scott. I'm past president and current voter education chair of the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County and moderator for this candidates forum. The League of Women Voters and City Club of Central Oregon have combined to do these forums for you. The Deschutes Public Library is comprised of 5 elected members who represent the 5 communities served by Deschutes Public Library: Bend, Lapine, Redmond, Sisters, and Sun River. Board members serve a 4-year terms. There are 4 candidates running for 2 of the library board seats this election for this candidate forum. 2 candidates, Tony Oliver and Cynthia Claridge, are running for Zone 1, covering Redmond and Districts 18, 31, and 48. The other 2 candidates, Marisa Hossick and Raymond Miao, are running for Zone 4, covering Bend and Districts 2, 4, 9, 12, 21, 25, 33, 43, and 44. We will start out with 1-minute opening statements followed by questions where each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer. At the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. So let's get started. So Cynthia, would you like to be our first opening statement?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. I'd like first to thank the League of Women Voters and also the Bend City Club for providing all of us this opportunity for the voters to hear our messages. I believe that libraries are essential to our democracy and to our First Amendment rights. Libraries are the heart of our communities. I'm Cynthia Claridge, and I'm running for re-election for the Deschutes Public Library Board. Serving on the board for 5 years has been both an honor and a responsibility. Respecting the needs of the community of Redmond and the entire county has been one of those responsibilities. By way of experience, I have lived in Redmond for 44 years. I was a teacher in Redmond School District for 22 years and owned a bookstore in downtown Redmond for 8 years. Prior to the formation of our Deschutes Public Library District, I served on the board for the Redmond Library back in the 80s. Being involved in my community has been a privilege and a passion.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Tony Oliver cannot be seen on camera because of difficulties with her computer, but Tony is joining us tonight. And Tony, you're next for your opening statement.
Thank you. And I too echo the privilege of being able to speak to the people who are on your Zoom and also if there are any live. I'm running because I think it's really important for us to have good community libraries, ones that service the community, ones that respond to the needs of the community and respect the wishes of the voters. In our area, Redmond did not vote for a library, so it's a little bit difficult for them to respond positively. However, we are looking forward to having not having rather a big, huge central library. We're looking forward to having community libraries that support the demographics of each community.
Thank you very much. Marisa, you're next.
Thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters in the City Club of Central Oregon. I'm Marisa Hossick, and I'm running for Deschutes Public Library representing Zone 4. I'm here tonight because this is one of the most critical elections for the future of the library. I believe that our public library is an essential resource and that plays a vital role in our community. As a member of the library board, I would bring a unique perspective and skill set to the table. I'm the communications director at the Deschutes River Conservancy for the past 13 years. Working in conservation, I've learned the importance of collaboration, communication, and effective leadership. I represent the voice of a different generation from the other board members. I'm a working mother of 2 school-aged children, and I'm thinking about the next 10, 20, 30 years here in the community. I've served as the president of a family foundation dedicated to literacy and have been an active participant in the City Club of Central Oregon over the years. I believe in the bond that we voted for, and I would like to see that happen.
Thank you very much, Marisa. Raymond, you're next. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I was born in China. We moved to the US when my father accepted a position at the United Nations. I have a PhD in biochemistry from Duke University and spent many years researching cancer progression and prevention. So my wife and I have lived in Bend for 32 years. I helped found our library system in 1998 and have been reelected to the board ever since. So I grew up in an environment of cooperation and collaboration, and that's what I bring to my work in the community. I've made a commitment to giving my time, energy, and abilities to bettering the community. I'm on the boards of the Rural Fire Protection District, the Council on Aging of Central Oregon. I'm a past board member of the Oregon State Library. I'm the former state president of AARP Oregon, and I was a member of the Oregon Health Fund Board that revamped the healthcare system for the entire state. And probably my most challenging position is president of my homeowners association, Woodside Ranch. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Raymond. So we will go on. Thank you for all your opening statements. We're going to go on to the first question. And the first question, it goes to you, Raymond. So don't mute.
Call me Ray.
Okay, Ray.
Only my wife calls me Raymond and I go, ooh.
That's when you're in trouble. Yeah, that happens. Yeah. Okay, first question is, and this question will go to all of you. How many library board meetings have you watched or attended in the last year?
Oh, in the last year. Oh, good. Every one of them. Once a month, along with, now we have some work sessions, which is every 3 months or so. So you can add that up from January till now. I thought you were going to ask me how many I've attended in my life, and I went, no.
No, we've got to limit something.
25 years is still a long time.
Okay, thank you. And you don't have to fill up the whole time. You can just stop.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, next, Marisa. And that same question, would you like me to repeat?
Nope, I've got it. I have watched one. I'm new to the game, new to the library board circuit, so I have only watched one. I have participated in board meetings for many, many years with my job at the Deschutes River Conservancy, and I'm very familiar with how a board works and should work. And so I'm looking forward to learning more about the library board.
Thank you very much, Marisa. Tony Oliver, this is your next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I understand that you requested how many board meetings. The thing of it was that this is new to me, and the sense of it is I did not decide to run until we lost our library. And I too want to follow what the bond said. The bond said that Redmond would have a new library, and we didn't get a new library. We got our library, it was demolished, and we have one that does not fit into the neighborhood in which the other one existed. So that's why I decided to run, because I think that Redmond needed representation. So I haven't had the opportunity yet to watch a board meeting.
Thank you, Tony. Cynthia, you're next, please. Same question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Carol. Yes, I'm the same as Ray. I've attended every one of our meetings in the last year. I think you said in the last year, correct?
Yes.
Yes, I have attended all of our meetings in the last year and all of our work sessions.
Oh, very good. Okay, so on to question 2. In 2020, Deschutes County voters passed the library bond. It is the library's board's responsibility to oversee implementation of the bond. Do you support implementing that bond in the form that was passed by the voters? And Tony, you're first on this one.
Definitely. I wish that had been been done for Redmond, because Redmond was supposed to get a new library. It wasn't supposed to get a replacement library. So heavens, that's why I'm running, is because I want it done. The thing of it is, do I want a central library? Of course, of course. We need to have one that does central processing, of course. It doesn't have to be as big as the one that is being proposed, but we still need to have a central library because that's part of the bond. And I think it's crucial for us to follow what the bond measure said.
Thank you very much, Tony. Cynthia, you're next on this one.
Okay, thank you. Do I believe that we're responsible for implementing what the bond said? Yes. And personally, I do believe that we are in the process of implementing exactly what the bond said. My opponent believes that that somehow the voters of Redmond were told that they were getting a new library, and they are getting a new library. I think the way she is interpreting it is to say that they were getting a second or an additional library, and that was never stated. And actually, prior to the bond even going before the people, I was one of many people who wrote letters in response to to explain to people why we needed to have the bond. And both in my letter and the other letters that were written, it was always stated that the library would be replaced with a new building.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Ray, you're next.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we will do what is in the bond because it's a legal requirement. The problem is, I've always said, yeah, we do need a central library. That is for sure. But it was not defined, the size, the cost, or the location was not defined in the bond measure. Our bond attorney actually came to the board and said, these are the things you have to do. It's the question in the bond, it's the statement, and then the explanatory statement. And Cynthia's right. The statement says we will build a central library, undefined. It says we will build a new Redmond library with substantially more space. And then modify and remodel, update all the other libraries. We're going to do that. The problem is the bond never defined the size or the location of the central library. Our bond attorney said the way it's written, a new Redmond library could mean a second library or replacing the present library. That was undefined. So the problem here is that we have a very generalized statement for the library bond. And now we're in a discussion as to what does the language actually mean. My position has always been the board really needs to sit down and discuss this along with the public now that they know the size and the location of a proposed library. And they've seen that the Redmond Library has actually been abolished.
Thank you very much, Ray. I'm afraid your time is up.
Thank you.
Cynthia, same question.
It's Marissa's turn. You already asked me. It's now Marissa's turn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't say Marisa. Sorry. I thought I did. Marisa?
Yeah, and just as a quick correction, it's Marisa.
Yeah,
so I think that the bond was pretty explicit at what it was going to cover. So construction of a central library that would provide a discovery center for children to learn and play, substantial space for an expanded book and materials collection, flexible community and small business spaces for learning, creativity and collaboration, space for larger programs and events, and an efficient book and material processing distribution center to serve all of the libraries in Deschutes County. And in reading the conceptual designs and some of the reports that the library collaborated with specific experts in library buildings and library and the futures of libraries, it was the assessment of these planners and architects that the size for the amenities requested by the community, the size that they proposed, the 110,000 square feet, would best accommodate the amenities asked for, specifically asked for, hold 6,000 community members for 6 years. This is what we would like, and this is the building that will accommodate what's best for the community.
Thank you very much. Okay, and it's Marisa.
Rhymes with Lisa.
Oh, Marisa. Thank you. That made it.
Mhm.
You're first on the next question,
Well,
Marisa.
Kim, I'm not seeing the clock at all.
Oh. Kim Gammon, I see the clock. You guys don't see the clock?
I don't see the clock
I
either.
I see the clock.
Uh-oh.
I don't see the clock.
Kim Gammon, where are you?
Yeah, you might,
No.
if make sure your screen is expanded the entire, as large as possible.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, Kim will signal you when maybe you have 10 seconds left, if that works, Kim.
Like that?
Oh, okay. No,
Okay.
expanding the screen that does it.
Did that do it
Try
for
the
you?
view.
That did it. Thanks, Kim.
Great. Cynthia, did that work? Good. Okay. Marisa. Anyway, so you have the next question. Question number 3. Do you support book bans or the purchases of censored books? These are all questions from the community, just so you know.
Okay. No, I do not support book bans. I think that your choice of reading materials is a personal choice. It's a choice, it's a responsibility within your own home. And I think it's an opportunity to educate your children on what your family values are and what you stand for. I think that there's probably lots of things, there's probably books that I don't see eye to eye with in the library, and I, would never request that those resources be taken away from the community. When you say the purchase of censored books, can you clarify what that means, please?
This is what people write in. So I wish I could. It just says, do you support book bans or the purchases of censored books? I'm sorry. That is
Okay. I'm just going to say that I believe in intellectual freedom. I believe in readers' rights. That's I think one of the foundations of a democracy. And I think I'll just end it there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Ray, I believe you're next.
Thank you. No, banning books, getting rid of entire genres of books, I don't agree with. There is a rising problem now that we have to really be concerned with at the library board level, as well as at the community level. And that is, in the past, we've had individuals saying, well, I want to have reconsideration of a specific book and for a specific reason. And we have a process to review that. And if they disagree, they can call all the way up to the board. I think we've never had that situation arrive in my 25 years on the board. But now we have organized groups asking to ban or reconsider up to 100 books at a time. So they're asking to take out genres. And unfortunately, this happens to be LGBTQ and racial books. We have a problem, and it's in the community. Parents have the right to say their children should not be able to read or access certain books. And we can put a block on their library card for that. But when we have entire organizations coming in, they're making this political. We have to address that before it really gets out of hand.
Thank you very much, Ray. Cynthia, you're next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, would you please repeat it?
Of course. Do you support book bans or the purchases of censored books?
Okay, thank you. No, I do not support that at all. And I think when Marisa asked the question about censored books, I think what the person meant was books that people throughout the country have actually challenged and have said these books should not be on the shelves. And so I think that's more what the writer was responding to. Personally, I do not believe that our librarians or our libraries are there to make a determination of what somebody should read. I believe that the library is there to provide the materials that the people in the community read. Our communities are filled with a variety of people. And if a parent does not like a specific book, then my feeling is it is that parent's responsibility to make sure that their child does not have that book or read that book. I would resent the fact to have somebody determine what I should or should not read. And I don't think that that's what we should be doing as a library.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Tony, you're next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm going to unmute you because of you probably heard my dog. There was somebody at the door, so he took off and you didn't want to have that in your ears. As far as books that are banned or censorship, I look at it, okay, what does the American Library Association say and what are their guidelines? What are the Oregon State Library Association dictates? And those are the things that say, okay, what we buy or don't buy. And I don't know what censorship would be because I don't see us at the library in a position where we just say, okay, this book is here or that book is there. I do think that there should be some restrictions on some of the graphic books that children have access to, but that's not banning and that's not censorship. I just think it should be placed in a place where it wouldn't be available for maybe some of the younger ones, but that I don't believe that they should be removed or banned.
Thank you very much, Tony. So it's time to go on to our next question. Cynthia, you get this one first. Deschutes County is spread across a large area. Would you support a mobile library?
Well, a mobile library, you mean like a book van? I'm assuming that's what it is, because we do have that. We have a van that goes around and visits parks, visits schools, goes to the shut-ins. And so we do have a mobile library that does go out. And it was a fantastic program that came out kind of during COVID, where the librarians would take out materials and hotspots and computers into where the houseless were living, going nearby to the children's workplaces, children's daycare centers, to provide those books and materials for people in the community who weren't able to come in. So we do already have that.
Okay, we're going to just stick with the same question, but thank you very much. Great answer. Tony, Annette, would you like to take on?
Oh, I definitely would support a bookmobile. Book vans are fine. They're small. They just don't have the opportunity to have people participate in them totally. So I could easily see that. My area includes Crooked River Ranch and Terrebonne. And then we have areas to the west of me. I live at the edge of Redmond. And all of those areas would be wonderfully served. And I agree that some of the nursing homes and some of the schools, particularly in the summertime, to have a bookmobile is very valuable. I just see it as a bigger operation than it is now.
Thank you very much, Tony. Marisa. Annette, you're next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm very excited about mobile libraries. I think this is where the central library is really going to shine with the expanded ability for circulation. I think that we need to really change our thinking or expand our ideas of what mobile libraries can be. I think, I remember the little bookmobile driving up to my school when I was a kid and being very excited about that. But I think the bookmobiles or the mobile libraries of the future are going to be a bit bigger, and they can have routes that they go on, and instead of building whole buildings and dedicating staff that are is not viable within the library budget, we can have these mobile libraries that can really truly access every neighborhood and not just certain neighborhoods where we would potentially place these community libraries. And so, you could have spaces for story times. The bookmobiles could show up at farmers markets. I just see, the possibilities are endless. Like you could, the Orchard District might have the bookmobile that comes on Mondays and Tuesdays, and maybe Northwest Crossing has it on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I just think it's a really amazing thing that I think that the Central Library could help facilitate, and something I'm very, very excited about.
Thank you very much. Ray, you're next. Would you like me to repeat?
No, thank you. We have to keep in mind that the way people are actually accessing reading materials and reading has changed dramatically. The advances in technology been tremendous. The pandemic has shown us that the way people access reading materials and use the library has changed and is not going to go back. If we have mobile libraries, they're not going to be the bookmobile that we know of yesterday. What I would suggest is we should have them as mobile hotspots too.
Yes.
People who cannot access the internet because they don't have the broadband or they don't have the service out there can link into our mobile hotspot. We can park it in certain areas. Other libraries are doing this. And kids can actually get into the hotspot and do their homework. One thing that mobile library will not replace is our early learning centers. Those really have to be face-to-face with the young child. And bookmobile is great for certain ages, but we really should be putting more emphasis in the community libraries that have early learning centers so that parents can bring their kids there and really learn to be ready to go to school.
Thank you, Ray. And Ray, you get you're first for the next question.
Okay.
What are your goals as a library board member?
Oh, I've been on the library board for 25 years. I have the same goals I had when I joined the board then, is to really build strong communities. I agree with the American Library Association that says one of the major goals of libraries is to build strong communities. And one of the best ways to do that is through community libraries. And we have managed to build a system that went essentially from every library was closed to one of the best libraries in the state. And we've done that by building community libraries. So I think we should take that model, expand it out. That's one of the reasons I'm looking at the large size of the one huge central library and saying, the bond doesn't say it has to be 100,000 square feet for at least $138 million. We can do a different plan, build the community libraries. They've taken us through periods of growth and recession in the past and still managed to give us great service for all of our community members. That's my main goal, is let's build on what we've done.
Thank you very much, Ray. Okay, Marisa, you're next.
My goals would be to be a public library board member that has integrity, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. The concept of building multiple libraries is not supported by the budget, the current operations budget for the Deschutes Public Library that's been in effect since 1998. It's 55 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. And that just does not support Ray's dream of having multiple libraries. It really is, the plan really supports having one central library. And so my goal would be to follow that plan, be fiscally responsible, be accountable to the voters for what we asked for in the bond measure, carry that through, and be a collaborative and helpful board member, work together, find ways to meet in the middle ground, and just help create more function on the board.
Thank you very much. Tony, you're next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
You wanted me to talk about the strategies?
What are your goals as a library board member?
My goal is to bring back Redmond to the table so that Redmond will be represented. And the other goals are just what we normally have on the board. I would like to see some extensive strategic planning where we really go through and determine who are we, what are we, and what are we supporting. I have such a strong belief in community libraries. I don't see my belief in a community libraries as having multiple libraries all around. I see we need to strengthen the ones we have. And as we increase the demographics of our area, we may need other libraries so that we can support those people because they too are paying the taxes. I also think that we should really look hard at the finances and go over them. My experience, I've run an organization, I know budgets, I know finance, I know how to read Excel sheets. And I think that we need to take the opportunity to go through and really look at the budgets and really look at what monies we have to spend.
Thank you very much, Tony. Cynthia, your turn.
Yes, thank you. My goal is primarily at this point in time is to fulfill the bond, to make sure that we do exactly what was promised. And one of the things that was promised in the bond and that we are working on is exactly what Ms. Oliver said, is to strengthen all of our community libraries. All of them will be strengthened in the remodeling process. We're going to have children's discovery centers in each of the libraries. We are adding new meeting spaces in each of the libraries. But probably the biggest thing that I feel the strongest about is also the central library. Our central library is going to be very important. Mr. Miao talks about how he does not like the size of it. However, that size is not something we randomly came to. That size was determined after we met with consultants that looked at our community, looked at the needs of our community, looked at how it's growing, and they recommended that that's exactly the size of a library that we needed to be a central place where would feed and work with all the other libraries to make sure that all of our community libraries had what they needed.
Thank you very much. And that, Tony, you are on the next, you're first on the next question. And just to remind our audience, Cynthia is running against Tony and Marisa is running against Raymond, just so you know what the seats are. So Tony, are you ready for the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In your opinion, what are the top 3 most important services the Deschutes Public Library provides?
I think the top one is community. I think it provides an opportunity where people gather and where people can learn and people can share. I think the second one is literacy. And that's one of the things on which a library system is judged is literacy. And I think that through the early learning centers and other programs, that is what's important. And so I guess those are my 2 things that I think, building up the community and also building literacy.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. Cynthia, you're next.
Yes, I totally agree with Ms. Oliver that one of the major reasons that we have libraries is because to bring about community, to offer community people to come together, to learn together, to question things. So I think most definitely that's a very important thing. I believe also the services that a library provides. Our library provides services, so many services. I'm always so impressed with all the different programs that we have that are out there, making sure that there's story hours. Librarians are going into daycare centers and sharing books and sharing story hours with them. They have these wonderful tubs that teachers in the district and all the school districts can come in and utilize if they're teaching a specific subject, so they can get those tubs. So there's lots of different services that the library provides. And then of course, books and materials. It's very important that we have books and materials for people and that we have computers for people. So those are probably those are the most important things to me.
Thank you very much. Ray, you are next.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. I'm always interested in keeping up the literature and looking at what are the future of libraries. So that's what services should libraries be providing and how do we provide that? And technology has made terrific changes in how people actually use libraries and even read. You know, I was one of the early advocates when electronic books were made available. I said we should put more money into both physical books and electronic media. And I think that was the right thing to do because our e-library is now the 2nd largest circulation right behind downtown Bend, and we'll pretty soon overtake it. But one of the main things that we found with the pandemic is that people access books, they can access information over the internet, but they still needed human contact. We have emotional problems, mental health problems, because we don't have human contact. Community libraries are perfectly positioned to provide that human contact. A library that people can easily get to, a library that's small enough that they know the librarian's name and the librarian knows them. So that's really key to really what is a library supposed to be doing for people.
Thank you very much, Ray. Cynthia, Marisa, you're next. Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Just needed to get my mute off. Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the main things that the library brings to the community is equal access, equity, belonging. It's a place that's open to everyone, is for everyone, is free for everyone. Another thing that the library provides is resources. I'm thinking of Library of Things. I'm thinking of books and audiobooks and language learning apps and videos. And I mean, just it kind of, the resources that fill just every corner of your life, every aspect of your curiosity. And then another thing I think libraries are really important for, and I think will be increasingly more important in the future, is community gathering spaces. I think that we spent 2 years in our houses, and I think, I've been to so many events lately. People are wanting to get together. People are wanting spaces that they can be in with the community. And I think that the Central Library and the renovations to all of the community libraries we have around the county provide that for our community and provide free access to that.
Excellent. Marisa, please stay on. Sorry. Please stay on. You're first to go with the next question. What are your views on the shifting nature of electronic learning of library material, ebooks, audiobooks, and shifting the resources that support that?
That's a great question. I am a avid consumer of all kinds of stories. I have books, I have ebooks, audiobooks. I think that the library needs to meet the community where they are. And I think that people learn in different ways. And I know that we're moving to, a more digital space, but I think that that there is still room for books. Books are a very big industry in the United States. That is not slowing down. You go to any book shop and there, I can't remember how many, I was listening to NPR the other day, like 1 million books are being published every year. Books are not stopping. And I think it's up to the library to provide, again, that equal access, that belonging. We all want to have a choice in how we consume information, be it via book, via tablet, via AirPods when you're walking your dog. I think there's a place for everything.
Thank you very much, Marisa. Raymond, you're next.
Yeah, great question. It's interesting. Undoubtedly, people are reading more using electronic media more. But I remember the Pew Foundation came out with a report on the future of libraries. And they found that people who read ebooks actually buy more physical books than those who don't. And they visit the library more frequently than people who don't. Interesting. So there is a place for both. People will read ebooks, they will read physical books. We will always have physical books in the library. That's what libraries really are all about. The thing is, there's so many advantages and disadvantages on either one. Pros and cons. Physical books, we buy 40 copies of the latest John Grisham book. 4 weeks later, what do we do with them? We take up space. Ebooks, no problem. Another thing with electronic books is people access them anywhere in the world. If you have a library card, I've done this when I'm on vacation in Hawaii. I can download books from our library and read them. It's fantastic. I don't have to carry 20 books on the airplane. So we have to have a balance between the two. We're always going to have both.
Thank you, Ray. Cynthia, you're next. Would you like me to
Yes,
repeat
thank
the
you.
question?
No, I've got it. Thank you. Yes, as both Ray and Marisa said, it is important that we provide exactly how readers prefer to have their books. And we're really lucky to live in a time period where that is possible. I have a husband who does not really like having a physical book to have to sit down because he's a very busy person. He prefers audiobooks. Whereas my grandchildren, who are range from the ages of 18 down to 6, they spend so much time on computers that they want physical books. They prefer the physical books. And then one of the things that one of the librarians has shared with us is that the gal who's in charge of the collections is that the number of published books has really increased. There's far more published books in recent years. And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting is because there was such a excitement when I started my bookstore, there was such an excitement on ebooks, and actually that's kind of leveled off. People are not as excited about it, but still important for us to provide all of those reading forms.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Tony, your question? Tony?
There, back again. I think that we're all in agreement in the sense of that something tactical is important as well as something electronic. And I think it goes back to serving your customers and serving what does your library need. One library might need more audiobooks, one might need more ebooks. I have lots of friends who love to download on their iPads. They think that's the most marvelous thing. So I think it goes back to the same thing. It's really hard for a 2-year-old to have an ebook. It works better if they have something tactical. But I agree, it's absolutely amazing that what's published, because people are now publishing their own, and they do sell them on Amazon, but it doesn't take the place of the ones that come into the library. So I think both are needed. I couldn't go on a trip without my audiobooks. So I think there's a need for all of it.
Thank you very much, Tony.
I think it, oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Cynthia, you get the next question. What would you do in the face of outside attempts to change the library's use of professional standards to maintain the current collection and add material that some groups have issues with?
So I'm going to ask if I'm going to interpret this to mean that people coming in wanting to actually remove books from the collection.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, that's what I think I wanted to say it, but I think that's what they're saying. No, I mean, it's important as if the board had somebody or a group of people who came in and questioned us, I most definitely would listen to them. It's important to listen to them. But at the same time, as a library, we have agreed with the Freedom to Read Act. We have agreed with what the state library says. And there is a process. The library has a process. If there's a book that you don't like or you want, as Ray used the term, reconsidered. If there's a book that you think needs to be reconsidered, being on our shelf, there's a process. You can go through that, and I respect that process. And after they've explained their thinking, most likely I would not agree to have a book removed. However, I do believe that there is a process that needs to be gone through to make sure that people's needs are met.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Tony, it's your question. Would you like me to repeat?
No, I think I would interpret it the same way as Cynthia did, in the sense of asking it to be removed or to be there. And I think it's really important that we give people the dignity of being listened to and understanding. And we may come down to something collaborative of, okay, this book won't be front and center when you walk in the door. It might be placed in its own genre instead of being out in front. You know, there's different ways of working around so people understand. And, you know, sometimes people aren't wanting necessarily the book to be removed. They just don't want it be placed in a certain place. So maybe we could work out a system where that could be addressed. And otherwise, I think it's an education process where they can be educated on what the standards are and what the guidelines are and what the people can actually access. And I think that's part of listening to them and educating them.
Very good. Thank you very much, Tony. Marisa, and that would you like me to repeat? What would you do in the face of outside attempts to change the library's use of professional standards to maintain the current collection and add material that some groups have issues with?
It's my understanding that the library has a pretty good protocol to go through for this. I think it's important to always listen to people, even if you don't agree with them. Everyone has different perspectives and different needs. And I think those people, they need to be heard. But I think, if you go through the established protocol for those requests and it doesn't, it's not in the best interest of the community and the library to remove that, I think that answer is clear. I don't believe in, censoring or banning books. I think, again, it's a personal responsibility. It's a family responsibility. So that's my opinion on that.
Thank you very much. Ray, your turn.
Can you repeat that question again?
I will be happy to. It's what would you do in the face of outside attempts to change the library's use of professional standards to maintain the current collection and add material that some groups have issues with?
Okay, so this is not somebody physically coming in trying to remove the book. I would ask, because the standards have been promulgated not just by our library, not just by the American Library Association, but all the way up to the Library of Congress. These are national standards that all libraries try to work by. And we have professional librarians that follow those standards and apply them. If somebody is so upset that they want us to change the standards, I would want to know why. There's something there. If there's something times are changing. We cannot deny that. They may have a reason that, or a particular part of a standard that they have questions or concerns about. I think I'd want to know as a board member what that is, without just simply saying, we got standards, you go home. Changing standards is like, you want to change the Constitution, so I want to know why, and maybe there's something in there that we should really be considering. I just feel somebody's that vociferous, that passionate about it, we should hear them out.
Well, thank you, Ray. Ray, you're first for this next question also.
Okie doke.
How would you assure those without access to internet, mostly rural communities, are given means to access library resources?
Oh, terrific, terrific. Yeah, I addressed that a little bit before with the mobile hotspots. Libraries are doing this. They take a mobile hotspot out there. I would say we should go one step further. If people don't have computers themselves or devices, libraries could lend those out, just like we lend out books. But along with that, we can lend out the personal hotspot. You don't have to wait for our bookmobile to come. You can check out a personal hotspot, take it home for, say, 2 weeks, bring it back. You better not break it, all right? And don't lose it. So those are the things we can do to help the digital divide. Other than that, we could actually go to community centers and place a permanent hotspot there. We buy the equipment, they maintain it, we put it out there, we essentially loan it not to an individual, but to, say, a community center, a Boys and Girls Club, something like that, or the Farm Bureau.
Very good. Okay, Marisa, your turn.
Can I just get a quick repeat of the question?
Of course. How would you assure those without access to the internet, mostly rural communities, are given a means to access the library's resources?
Yeah, great question. I mean, libraries are institutes of equity. I think having mobile libraries is helpful. I agree that having mobile internet access could be helpful for the community. I think that the Library of Things is also another resource. We just brought home a keyboard. My son was interested in playing the piano, and do we borrow one? Do we see what it looks like before we buy one? That's, I think, another great way that we're providing access. And through the library, if you have an internet connection, I think a lot of people were able to get that going during COVID. But I agree there could be hotspots that you check out. I'm not sure how that would work technically, but that would be something to do. But I think that there are so many resources that people can access over the internet. There's language learning apps. There's I don't know. There's so many resources. There's sorry, I kind of drew a blank there.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
I'll just
great.
stop there.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. All righty, Tony, your question?
Oh, I think that Ray took about a lot of mine by talking about the mobile hotspots and talking about the services of taking them out. I mean, we can talk all we want to about all the marvelous internet services, but if you don't have internet, you don't get any of the services. So people have to have access to the internet. And I think the mobile hotspots really work well. That does not preclude that you would not take out say a van or a bookmobile to those areas so they could have some access to, say, the things or the books or the resources like that. But what it does say is that it gives them the opportunity to have access to the internet. The problem in something like that, in some of the problems, and I have worked with recycling computers to communities like that. And sometimes it's very difficult to get, even with mobile hotspots, to get services. So sometimes maybe we just have to bring them in or give them opportunities to come in or be transported into a library. I think it just depends. You really have to look at the community and look at what their needs are. And that's the whole thing about what a library does. It caters to its people.
Thank you very much, Tony. Cynthia, your question?
Yes, thank you. Actually, this was an issue that really became terribly evident during COVID. And libraries all across our country, and most definitely Deschutes Public Library, really responded to the needs of people who did not have the hotspots. I have a daughter who teaches, and so she had all these students who were needing to be Zooming during COVID, and found out that their families didn't have any internet. They didn't have a computer, they didn't have internet. And so, as I said, COVID really brought this out and really helped the communities understand. And libraries really stepped in, seeing where and how they could fill those needs. And as has already been stated, hotspots, of course, is a really big thing. And that's one of the things that the van that we have provides. This van would go out, had hotspots, it had computers that people could actually utilize right then and there when the van was there. They would open up the van and they'd get all the materials out so everybody could utilize them, as well as checking out books and things. So that most definitely is something that the libraries are working on, and we need to continue seeing what we can add to it.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. This will be the last question, and it will be going, Tony, you're first. And the question is, what is your favorite book that you have checked out or downloaded from the Deschutes Public Library? So Tony, you're first. Tony? Okay.
My dog again. So that's an unfair question. I think, I really like books like Krakatoa, but that was also an audiobook. I love any of his works. I like the When the World Was Lit Only by Fire. I like right now The Perfectionist. Also, I don't know. It's real. How does one choose a favorite book?
It's not easy.
I tend to. I'm really not a mystery reader, but Rebecca was a great one that I had to reread simply because it's a great book. So I'm sorry, I am stuttering over this thing because books are so much a part of my life. They have always been. I grew up in a very rural area and books were what we had. We only had one radio station and that was Country Western. And we went an hour on the bus to get to school. So, books were our life and it hasn't changed for me since. So I'm sorry, I have no favorite ones, but.
Many. Well, thank you very much, Tony. Cynthia, same question.
I agree with Tony. Very difficult question to ask. Number one, I'm constantly reading. I have a stack of books next to my bed. So, and I'm on the novel idea committee, so I'm constantly reading new books for that as well. I'll talk about one book that I read in the last couple of months that I really liked. Maybe somebody else might like reading it. I love reading a lot of different genres. Anyway, this book was a futuristic book that's all about, it's called Mountains in the Sea by Ray Naylor. And it was a book that the reason I loved it is it talked about language, because there's a scientist, a research scientist who is studying octopus, and they discover an octopus that actually can has communication with one another. And so the book brought out all this information about language acquisition, and it was just an amazing book. But I'm constantly reading, love books, love all different genres, and that's what our library provides for us.
That's a wonderful answer. Thank you. Raymond, you're next.
I'm like 80% of the general population. I'm a visual learner. Worse than that, I'm a product of the New York City education system. I read every single word. So I am the slowest reader in the world. But I will say, in the time that I have available, when I'm not on one of my other board services, I love the Harry Potter books. I devoured Harry Potter. Okay, Dirty Little Secret, right? And I watched the movies 4 or 5 times. And I go back and read the book and say, was that really in there? Holy cow. Okay, so I read for enjoyment. I spent my entire life as a research scientist. I have facts coming out my earlobes. I am ready to relax. My latest thing is murder mysteries. Can I solve whodunit before I get to the end? So that's what I read now, is anything that I don't have to memorize. I just read for pure enjoyment.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Marisa?
Yeah, difficult question. I think I started reading at 5 and just inhaled every single book I could find since then. So I've read thousands of books from the Deschutes library. I think, and my motivations for reading are, definitely for enjoyment. I read for curiosity. I just love learning so much. And one of the things I really love reading about is different people's perspectives. I love learning what life is like for different people and different, from different backgrounds, different times. And so I think the book that I'm going to say in answer to your question is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It's just an extraordinary book. It is so full of the world beyond humans and the connection between people and nature, and that kind of the reciprocity, the the reciprocal responsibility that we have to our planet. Obviously, I work in conservation, so that's very near and dear to my heart. And there, at Cowboy Cache on Monday, we're actually going to be having a little braiding sweetgrass event. So if people are interested in that book, they can come at 5 o'clock.
Thank you very much. So we will be doing our closing statements. And Marisa, Annette, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm running for library board because I believe in collaboration, integrity, and the power of knowledge, and the critical role that our public library plays in promoting lifelong learning and community engagement. In today's rapidly changing world, it's more important than ever that our library reflects diverse perspectives, interests, and backgrounds of our community members. Great libraries provide access to knowledge and important opportunities for people to come together. They allow us to create, deepen, and explore connections crucial to a healthy society. The libraries of the future will be dynamic and innovative spaces that go beyond their traditional role. These are the concepts the library board and planners had in mind when thinking about the next 20, 30, and 40 years of our library system. In May, voters in the 3 areas of the county will pick who represents them on the library board. 3 of the candidates, Ann Malkin, Cynthia Claridge, and me, stand for honoring our promises to voters, delivering the buildings as promised. The library engaged planners and architects to show them what the vision would look like, and it's the Stevens Ranch Library. The library put forth on the bond, clearly laying out the features of the new library, the features of the new Redmond Library, and the improvements, upgrades, and remodeling that would bring all libraries in the county up to date. If elected, I promise to work tirelessly to ensure that our library remains a vibrant and valuable resource for all members of our community. I personally cannot wait to take my family to the Stevens Ranch Library to spend the afternoon drinking a coffee, exploring books, meeting up with friends, and enjoying a wonderful public space, free and open to all. Please make sure to vote on May 16th, and please vote for the vision of the library we said yes to back in 2020.
Thank you very much, Marisa. Raymond, your turn. Ray.
Thank you. And thank you so much for sponsoring this forum. I've had fun. This is great. I believe our library system and our communities face many challenges. And we're entrusted with $195 million of taxpayers' money to expand our library system. The pandemic has changed everything. How we live, work, learn, and socialize. Technology is changing so rapidly, it's hard for people and institutions to keep up. The effects of growth are an obvious issue, but the environment and our aging population are also major problems that we have to face. The library has to play an active part in meeting all of these challenges. I have the breadth of knowledge and experience in seeing how communities change and how libraries can change to meet current and future challenges. I've done this for 25 years. I believe being a good steward of the public's money is critical. I have the experience and knowledge that's needed to meet that responsibility. I serve on multiple boards and volunteer with many community organizations. I know people throughout the community and work cooperatively with them to get things done. All of my board, volunteer, and work experiences have prepared me to approach and deal with challenging issues and how libraries can best address them. I'm running for re-election so that together we can continue to build a strong library system that grows strong communities. Experience, knowledge, and dedication count. Besides, I have a sense of humor.
Yes, you do. Cynthia, your turn for your final statement.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Bend City Club again for this opportunity, and also to thank the listeners who've taken the time to listen to our messages. I believe that I am the best candidate to serve on the library board at this time. The board is at a crucial moment as we are in the middle of remodeling 5 of our libraries and building 2 new library buildings. We made a promise to our voters to improve the services and to provide facilities that meet their needs. My opponent has stated that we need to stop the progress and go back to the community to learn what they want. I believe the people have already spoken through their vote, and they want the board to move forward. To stop the building of the Central Library at the Stevens Ranch location would be a detriment to the 6 community libraries. The Central Library will be the hub of the library system, and without that hub, the services will be hindered. If my opponent's vision of additional small libraries being built in Bend is fulfilled, it will mean that the Deschutes Public Library will need to return to the voters to ask for more money to maintain and sustain those multiple buildings. When the library district was formed, the board asked the voters for an operating levy. That was 25 years ago, and the library has never asked for additional operating monies. We have been good stewards of the taxpayers' money and created a library system that is considered to be one of the best in the state. I've participated in many community meetings in the last 5 years and have listened to the people of our communities. I've listened to the consultants, the architects, the engineers, and the lawyers who have been advising the board for the last 5 years. I believe that my knowledge of the library system and the projects we are working on is essential to the continued progress of the meeting for the goals of our communities. I believe the choice is simple. Either we step back and lose the confidence of the people, or we move ahead with the promises we've made. I hope you will vote for me.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Tony, time for your final statement.
Yes, of course, I want your vote, but the other thing is I need to let you know that some of the information that's been given about me is not correct. I don't have a belief that there should be all sorts of little libraries dotted around. I believe in community libraries that support the demographics of the library in which they're located. And I agree with all of these wonderful things that are going to strengthen the current libraries. I am going to represent Redmond, and Redmond did not vote for the library. Redmond was not happy about the decision that the library be demolished. So, and that has been proven because my opponent had to write a letter to the spokesman saying why it was so important to make the decision that the library board made when there was so much, how should I say, really reaction to those that taking down that library. The thing about the Central Library is libraries are supposed to be accessible. The Central Library is not going to be very accessible to Redmond people. How about Sisters or Lapine or even Northwest Bend? So as a Central Library, I visualize it as something to do with central processing and central carrying. We need to follow what the bond said, but we need to really understand and parse out what the bond said. So it's really important that we look at those things, we look at the money. 34 cents is being added to every $1,000 of your home property value to care for this bond. And we need to know how to use that money wisely.
Thank you very much, Tony. And thank you to all the candidates. We understand how arduous running for a public office can be and thank the candidates for participating in the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County and City Club of Central Oregon Deschutes County Library Board Candidates Forum. Thank you. Your vote is your voice. Make sure to get your ballots in by May 16th so your voice can be heard. For more information about all the candidates running for the 2023 special election, please check out vote411.org. The next League of Women Voters Deschutes County and City Club of Central Oregon's Candidate Forum will be Wednesday, April 26th, tomorrow, for the Bend Lapine School Board candidates, Zones 3 and 5. This will also be at 6 p.m. Please visit the City Club of Central Oregon website to submit questions for each of the candidates' forums. Forums will be streamed on the City Club of Central Oregon's YouTube channel, and recordings for the forums will be available on both the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County and the City Club of Central Oregon website, lwvdeschutes.org and cityclubco.org. I'm Kim Smith with the League of Women